Well, hello and welcome to Frank's World TV, or is it Frank Digs Data? I really should solidify the brand. So the website is franksworld.com. And how's it going, Andy? Big shout out to Andy. And you can catch me on multiple places online. And right there, Frank Digs Data on the socials, franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and yes, impactquantum.com. So I wanted to kind of add some context to a post I made, and I realized it was a bit flippant, and I wanted to explain myself further. During the drive to drop the kids off today, I had this vision of writing this long newsletter article, which I might still do, but my writing circuits are currently occupied doing something else this week. Excuse me. And I wanted to clarify this a little bit more. Right. So obviously, I think the original what did I say? Something like, I didn't notice this. OpenAI had a massive outage. I think a couple of things. One, OpenAI has been out 2 years. Clearly, I need another Monster Energy drink. All right, let me start that over. OpenAI has been around 10 plus years. They have had ChatGPT open for around 2 years. And I would say it's been about a year and a half since we had any kind of serious capacity issues with them, right? They've solved that problem. Kudos to them because they are the fastest adopted product in history to hit 100 million, something like took them a week or two. That is a tough scale for any site. That's a tough climb for any site reliability engineer or any IT ops team. So hats off to them. But I wanted to point out something here. And I didn't experience this because, again, I actually took the night off, hung out with the kids and all that, did Taekwondo, all that jazz. So this would have been about 6:16 p.m. to around 10:38 p.m., which I was blissfully offline, which is actually kind of nice. Recommend everyone try it every once in a while. What's interesting is not just the client went down, but also the API request went down. So this probably exposed a lot of vulnerabilities in a lot of people's systems where they do take a dependency on OpenAI. And I bet this morning or last night, there were a lot of impromptu meetings about how do we remove this dependency. And I'm sure it's not the first time it came up, but it's probably the first time this risk was taken seriously. And I can easily imagine that through no fault of their own, this may have been a configuration change. They're blaming it on a configuration change on their own, but through no fault of OpenAI's own, they are and have been a massive, juicy target for bad actors, all the way from kids in the basement, all the way to nation state actors. So I just think it's an engineering flaw that to have one single point of failure. What's the resilience here, right? Not knocking them, but if you have an AI solution, and I talk to enough startup founders out there and I'm plugged into those forums where they are really a facade to OpenAI, APIs. So the dependency on one platform is an issue. And I know, as a history of a systems architect, that is not a trivial thing to address, particularly when you're trying to, scale out as a startup, particularly smaller startups. This is hopefully there are some. Well, it's on the West Coast. It's still kind of early, but hopefully there are some sobering conversations about resilience, security, and architecture around AI solutions. So I recently interviewed a guest for an upcoming podcast, 2 episodes away, on Data Driven, datadriven.tv. Check it out. He's a security expert, and his startup company is a security firm, and they focus on data and AI solutions. And we get into it, and there's a lot of vulnerability points, and there were some things that I never thought of either, right? That are potential vulnerability points. And I look at this, and I'm like, if you're a startup and you are dependent entirely on OpenAI, I understand how you got there, but you can't stay there, right? You have to have some kind of backup plan, whether it's running OpenAI on Azure service, whether it's running, some kind of backup through Claude or Gemini or something like that. I know that the results will probably change materially depending on which model is used and all of that. But I encourage you to have a plan because this is not the first time this happened, and it is certainly not going to be the last time this happens. So I encourage you, AI engineers, and to think like proper engineers, right? If one point of failure is an issue, you have two options. One, redesign it so you don't have that point of failure, and two, secure that um, secure that point so it's less likely to fail. Now, obviously, with this API and this stuff being kind of out of your control, I don't think you can wholly do it, but I still think it's worth doing, or at least thinking of a plan, right? Even if the plan is, I'm sorry, we're out right now, right? Um, not a, there's not really much you could do about what their infrastructure to OpenAI is, but what you can do is work around it, right? So if you think about our old self-improvement thing, um, the you can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sails, that sort of thing. So that's my deep thought of the day, and I got it in early today. No, I figured I would stream because I wanted to add more context because as much as I made light of it, this is actually pretty serious because I suspect this here is the linchpin or the keystone for the entire generative AI startup community, um, or ecosystem, despite other companies' attempts to not make that so. But even still, if you're relying just on Google, you're just relying on Claude, or you're just relying on one thing, that is a point of failure. It's a single point of failure, right? AWS is a single point of failure, not to knock on them, but they've had like what, two outages that I'm aware of in the last two major outages.